Are we together? Yeah? Okay, great. The shared vision can be state, national, district or community. It can be on a broad health spectrum. People have to own it. It has to engage everybody, right? Inspiring and compelling, concrete and specific. Okay? So I'm just going to stop here for a second before I move to this and say, if you go to a community and ask them, how many people here would you like dying of lung cancer? What do you think the answer will be? 0. But if you go to a high level, policy level and say, how many deaths do you think we should have this year from lung cancer? They'll say 5% reduction. So 5% less is not good enough for the community. They want 0. Right? That's what we should be aiming for. It's not okay for anyone to be dying from this. So if it's 0, then that should be the goal to which we're all working towards. Now, strategic objectives are things that contribute to the shared vision. These are ways in which we can reach our big goal, right? So I'm just going to go through this. Reduce smoking prevalence in Bangladesh by 10%. This is oftentimes the kind of things we see, right? But what happens there? That means that there is still a lot of people smoking. Strategic objectives describe what you need to do to get to the end that you want. So I'll explain it through a simple tennis example. Everybody likes tennis? Like tennis? Yes. There are tennis players in this room. So, what if I'm number 2 in the country? I want to beat number 1. Okay? The opponent, I have to look at the weaknesses of the opponent. First I study. The opponent doesn't return well from the left side of the court. Second, the opponent has poor endurance for fast-paced games. So there's 2 weaknesses that my opponent has. Right? So what do? The third opponent, he can't return the serve very well. Do you sit down and say, I want to score 2 points higher than my opponent in the next one? Is that my strategic objective? Or am I going to say, I want to focus on my backhand and develop it so I can return the serve better. I want to improve my own endurance so that when my partner gets tired, I'm still going. Third thing, develop a more powerful serve that my partner can't return. So rather than just focusing on saying, I want to reduce tobacco by 10%, smoking by 10%, you're looking at careful ways in which we can do that. That is a strategic objective, right? So, how do you do that in terms of strategy? The strategic objective was those 3 things. Now, strategy is you hire and train a coach who can improve your backhand. Enroll in a high-quality training course. Focus on improving your serve, watch the opponent, and train yourself. So those are ways in which you can get to your strategic objective. Make sense? Okay. So all I'm trying to say is when we're looking at the big picture, we have to think about a shared vision, which is to reduce deaths by tobacco. Look at different strategic objectives that will get us there. The strategic objectives could be smoking reduction, better early diagnosis, some of the other things that we have that reach it. And for each of those strategic objectives, what is our strategy? Make sense? I think people are a little bit overwhelmed. Do you want to just stand up and have a quick stretch? People are looking a bit tired. Just stand up for 1 second, if you don't mind. Just stand up and stretch for 1 second. Thank you. Just because it takes a long, you feel sleepy when you sit for a long time. Great, thank you. So we want to move from a health system that is only a sickness care system, only treating people when they get sick, to something that looks more like this, where there's also health promotion and prevention, right? That becomes a part of your health system. Which one is a part of the health system? Newspapers, communities, children in school, which is a part of the health system? All of them. They're all a part of the health system, right? So we want to move away from just the hospital-based approach to adding other things like the communities, the children, the families, the workplaces. These are all should become part of the health system so that everything is contributing towards this. Okay? So institutions fight disease to save people. No, we want to flip that and say institutions enable people to act and fight disease. To make it different. Put the responsibility and the personal action on the community and the people, because they have to want it to have it. Right? I wouldn't say they, I would say we have to want it to have it. So country's health system usually has households, community, government. It's like a three-leg stool. Agree? You have political, social, cultural, economic, technological driving forces. And what happens? The family is right in the middle. Right? Right in the center you have the family, and around the family you have communities. Around the communities you have government agencies. And all of them are influenced by these political, social, cultural, economic, technological forces. So before I get to my next step, I want to sort of check and see if we agree that communication is one important way that we can reach the final shared vision of reducing burden due to tobacco-related illnesses. Agreed? Okay, any questions? Yes. You have a comment, question? I can pass the mic around and I can do the other. Any comments or questions? Couldn't have been that easy to understand.
The very first slide presentation of yours said that the information should come from a trustworthy medium.
Yes.
And regarding community radios, it is run by the community people only. So people hardly trust on them because they have very few experts on in the community radio. So what should be what's your insight over this? What should be our approach to gain the trust of the community?
Very good question. So your point is that a community radio, people may not trust information coming from the community. So I guess the answer could be this way, that it has to be what information is conveyed by whom. So if it's going to be medical information given to you by a doctor, you might believe it. But if someone says, oh, my friend has tried this, you should try it too. That might be good coming from a community member. So I think it depends on what information you're trying to convey and trying to find the most trusted source for that information. Does that make sense? So a community member may not be the best source of information for everything. They are good for certain aspects. Whereas for other aspects, you have to get whoever is the most believable person in that particular role. Right? Does that answer your question?
But we are doing things that approach, but then also hardly the trust is, we are getting trust of the
Okay.
not
So,
much change we are getting.
So that's where the research comes into place. You need to do some formative research to understand who the community would trust with that information and why are they not trusting the source. Because I couldn't answer that for you. I would be lying if I said I could answer. So I think you should try and see systematically analyze where do they get their information from, who do they trust to get that information from, who do they look to for like technical information, who do they look to for like emotional support. So those are questions, and I'm happy to talk to you a little bit more after that if you'd like. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm moving on to the second part, which is kind of the more exciting part, which is about the actual communication. So communication and people's behavior are very powerful determinants of health. Right? Whichever way we look at it, from small to big, very, very powerful determinants of health. And it's all about relationships, not just the delivery of messages. How much do you trust someone? How much do you trust their voice, how well you know them? Have you seen them on TV? Is this person related to you? Sometimes a person related to you, you may not trust for a particular reason. So that's what I'm saying, that all communication depends very heavily on relationships. It's not just about sharing a message. It's no longer, I give you this message, you listen and you act on it. Communication doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens in a context, right? A social context. If you want to study ant behavior, how do you study ant behavior? You have to study the whole colony of ants. You can't understand ant behavior if you just study one ant, right? So you'll have to look at the whole ants colony and how they behave with each other in order to understand. Similarly, how if we want to understand how young people behave, how people in a workplace behave, how families behave, we have to study the whole community. You have to study the family and how it works. It won't be enough to just study one individual, correct? So what is SPCC? I think you saw the video, so I won't belabor this, but it's really all the projects and activities and things that contribute, positively influence social dimensions of health and well-being in order to promote and support recommended health practices. Handheld mic this way, can I get it back? So some people call it health promotion, some people call it behavior change communication, some people call it health communication. And now actually they've even started calling it just social and behavior change, because there's more than communication. There are other things like behavioral economics, how we make choices and so on. But I won't go into that. This again is another way of looking at that circle model I showed you before. It's a very common model called the social ecological model. And what this is it says that any program or any activity, communication activity you do, has to overcome barriers to structural and normative changes. But you look at it, it's like an onion. You know an onion? What's the word in Bengali? Pyaj. Inside is the individual, right? Around them is the family and peer networks. Beyond that is the community, and then there is the society. So all of this influences the individual. So if you go and just talk to the individual, they can't individually make decisions usually. They're influenced so heavily by all these layers on top of them. So you need to change many layers in order to get to the individual. How many people know the steps to behavior change? I'm going to make a point about people are not always in the same place. Okay, we talk to people with a general message and we say, you should, that tobacco smoking or use causes cancer. You should stop using it. You're making a lot of assumptions. What are the assumptions you're making? First, that they don't know about tobacco. Second, that they're going to listen to you and immediately change, or they're using tobacco. So I just want to walk through these steps to say that when we address programs and people, we're not always on the same step. Right? You may need different messages or different approaches to different people. For example, the first step is pre-knowledge. This means the individual is not aware of the problem and the individual has no sense of personal risk. So let's say I'm a smoker, right? I don't know that smoking causes cancer. I don't know I'm at a risk at all. So I'm in a pre-knowledge stage. Okay? So that's the first stage. Second stage is knowledge. The individual understands the issue and knows that there is a personal risk. I've heard that tobacco smoking and tobacco chewing can cause cancer. I think because I use it, I might be at risk. That's the second stage. Third stage is approval. I hear that if I stop it, I will reduce my chances of getting cancer. So stopping is behavior X. Okay? And I discuss it with my peers and my personal network. At work, I ask my friends, have you heard about this? That if you stop smoking, that it gets some years of your life back? Have you heard about the fact that, tobacco chewing is harmful, that I should stop? Testing to see what others are doing. If a friend says, no, that's all rubbish, you should continue doing what you're doing, what do? You continue. If I think my friends and family want me to stop, you see the father in that movie, the pressure that's coming to him from his wife and now his son as well. So that is a social and peer network. He knows they want him to change his behavior. Right? So that is step 3. Approval for behavior change. Step 4 is intention. You intend to reduce the risk by practicing X behavior. The young boy did that, correct? He wants to stop smoking. He's thrown away his cigarettes. Whether he's going to go outside and pick it up again, we don't know. But at this point, he has the intention to stop smoking. And he wants to not undertake the risky practice of smoking. And finally, actively practices it. Which means the young boy says, I'm done with smoking. I'm not going to smoke anymore. I've thrown away my pack of cigarettes. I don't care if my friends are going to put pressure on me. I'm not going to smoke. Finally, advocacy. This is a very, very special stage because this is where people who've been practicing a good behavior can influence other people. So his friend smokes, right, that young boy. So if he goes and tells his friend, listen, it's been 2 weeks since I have not smoked and I feel better, I can play longer in my football match, I'm feeling more energetic, I feel healthier, it was difficult in the beginning to quit, but now that I've quit, I'm so happy. What will the friend think? This is a good supportive advice from the friend, right? So he's much more likely to stop as well because his friend told him, I tried, it's difficult, but now I've stopped. Agreed? So this is the last phase, which is advocacy, which is really important. So if you look at this, there are different stages. Where do you think the father is in that movie? Which stage is he in? Where is he? Knowledge. He hasn't moved up to approval yet. His family is trying hard, but he's not moved up to approval. How about the son? Intention. He's probably at the intention stage. Where is the other friend, the one, his buddy who goes playing football with him and smokes with him? Probably pre-knowledge. Correct? So would the message to all those three people, the friend, the main boy and his father, be the same? Stop smoking. Would that be the same message? No. Because they're in different stages and they need different things. Agreed?